So today we're going to talk about everything to do in Fredericksburg from a local's perspective. And I've been here almost 30 years. Melanie grew up here and we own a business here. So we have a very unique insight on things that you can do in Fredericksburg if you're visiting. And I would have to tell you, it is the most common question that I get asked is, what can I do in Fredericksburg? When should I come? What's the best restaurant? We have so many questions like this that we actually put information on our website to provide that information to users. And I don't know about Melanie, but I actually have a file on my phone that I just copy and paste and text to people because I get these questions so often.
I wish I was that organized that I would think to do that, but I don't. I just wing it every time because it depends on who they are, what they want to do, if they've got kids with them, what they're trying to accomplish when they come here.
So I think one of the things to think about is when people ask me, when should they come? Well, I used to tell people that we had a festival every weekend. I'm not really sure that that's true, that we have a festival every weekend, but we clearly have, if you went through the year, there's things like spring break. There's a huge amount of things going on with spring break. And then we have bloom with all of the wildflowers that are happening. And then we have all of the family activities with the end of school. A lot of people come right after school is out. People often think they don't want to come in July because it's too hot, but it gets cool at night. So the heat's kind of relative. And also we have a wonderful 4th of July, which is kind of interesting. And then, of course, we hit Crush with the wineries, and that lasts 6 or 8 weeks. And then you have Oktoberfest. And then you have Christmas, which is a huge celebration here. So I think I just marched through the whole year. There's very few times where you can pick and go. There's not something going on.
Just about. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's a couple of slower months. January is usually like a recovery month for the whole town, I think. We've been so busy over the holidays and mass amounts of people walking around looking at all the great decorations that we have downtown. So January is a little bit quieter, but other than that, it's pretty much just go, go, go. And I don't know if there's a festival every weekend, but there's something going on almost every weekend.
Okay, so I got this question last week, and I want to see if you and I have the same answer. And the question is, if I wanted to plan a couples trip and I wanted to come to Fredericksburg and I wanted to visit when there was the least busy, the least crowds, what are the secret times to come visit?
Secret times would be if school is in session, you're safe. So right after school starts, late August, early September, sometime in there, you're going to have the place all to yourself. Again, it's a little bit of recovery from the busy summer and, families aren't here. So you've got more space to yourself.
So I think that's a good idea, is that the week after a major holiday. So if you have a major holiday, like last, I think we're in January right now. So this week right here is really slow in town.
Mm-hmm.
And I just know that week after school starts, it's just quiet. There's no one here.
Very quiet. Yeah. It's perfect if you really want to just explore and see everything and no wait times anywhere. That's the time.
And probably easier to get a restaurant reservation and find a place to stay.
Yes, I would think so.
Okay, so let's talk about the next one. So what's the most common thing that people come to Fredericksburg for?
I think people think it's wine. I don't know if that's necessarily still true because we have so many great restaurants also. So, I guess food and wine and maybe a little bit of shopping sprinkled in there. I know back in the day, shopping used to be much higher priority for people and we just don't have as much retail going on, but that doesn't mean there's not shopping to be done here. I think it's just kind of taken a back seat to the food and possibly wine and even just nature stuff like Enchanted Rock. That hasn't gone anywhere. It's not going to go anywhere. Wildly popular. There's often a wait list for it to get in. The park fills up. There are signs that will tell you that along the way. And we got a lot of rivers around here. People like to go fishing and hiking and there's cool stuff.
So I think that the issue that you brought up about shopping, I don't know that there's less shopping now, but there's certainly a lot more other stuff to do. And so it's I don't know that shops have closed, but we now just have so many other venues. There's just so many other things to do. I can remember when I first moved here, and of course she grew up here, but it seemed like the things to do were shopping and go to a couple museums. And there were a few local restaurants. That was about it. And today, all those shops are generally still here. There may be even a few more, but there is just so many other activities going on, from all the wineries and all the activities and the live music. And that just didn't exist 20 years ago.
That is true. The live music scene, for sure, that you just mentioned hasn't always been a thing here. I think it was it was here just on a much smaller scale. I mean, you had Luckenbach and you had the Albert Dance Hall. You had a couple of old school dance halls, Pat's Hall, remember that? But you didn't have live music at every single restaurant or bar or winery like we do now. We have a lot of live music going on.
So we get a question here a lot. A lot of comparisons happen between Fredericksburg, between us and Napa. I hear that question a lot. In fact, I would say every weekend somebody asks me a question about comparing us to Napa. And I don't know if this is accurate information, but I'm going to tell you what we know from our own data, just looking at our statistics and our customers. It seems like in Napa, people are older. So on general, they have like an older age group. I would say in that 45 to 50-year-old age group. And there's not as many younger people and maybe not as many really older people. Here in Fredericksburg, it seems to be peanut butter. That's what I tell people. We see people from 18 to 70 here. It's all across the board as far as age groups. And I think that's because of what we have to do. I mean, people can actually go to a winery. They can go shopping. They can go to the Nimitz and go through the museum, or they can go hike on Enchanted Rock, right? I mean, there's all kinds of different activities. It's not just limited to just the wine.
Right, and the winery choices that they have. Some people were intimidated to come and just go to wineries because they thought it was like an old people thing to do. Like you had to spend a certain amount of money and you had to, purchase a tasting and join the wine club everywhere and do all these things when that's not necessarily true. And there's a lot that are geared towards the younger crowds. They're more fun, they're more lively. They often have things to do and drink other than just wine. And they're absolutely Instagrammable, which is what the younger crowd is coming for. Everybody wants their feed to look really pretty. And man, the properties here are just spectacular.
I would say that that's absolutely true, that there's a lot of opportunities for Instagrammable moments in all of the wineries. That's absolutely true. So let's talk a little bit about what are options like if you have kids in Fredericksburg?
If you have kids in Fredericksburg, your kids are probably going to be a little irritated with you because it's not 100% geared towards small children or even just children. But that being said, there is plenty of stuff for them to do. I mean, again, Enchanted Rock, really, really cool. There's not a lot of mountain-sized rocks that you can climb up that you're really not worried your kid's going to roll back down. This
Maybe a rattlesnake.
This piece of rock is so big that doesn't generally happen. But yes, there are snakes out there because there's caves, But there's fishing in some of our parks and rivers and stuff, and there is a couple of cool restaurant spots where kids can hang out outside and do stuff while you're there. And then there's cool places like Neck Manor, where it's a zoologically accredited conservation facility that houses giraffes and rhinos, and they can get up close and personal with these animals, which is amazing to have a little mini Jurassic Park right in our backyard. They can go out to Wildseed Farms. A lot of times they have this butterfly garden thing going on, and there's fields of wildflowers, and it's a place where kids can kind of just run around a little bit outside and not have to sit down and sit still and adhere to that.
So what about for couples? If you're coming here for a couples weekend?
Well, that depends. Do y'all get along really well? Are you trying to fix something? Either way, there's tons of great BNBs. There's a lot of great hotels. So accommodations are going to be really nice. Food, there's so many choices of different types of food that you can get. And I really can't think of one that I don't personally go to. They're all really, really good, and you don't have to just drink wine. You can stroll around. You can get out in nature a little bit. You can go to these other conservatory type places. There's a healthy nightlife going on. I mean, there's karaoke and there's wine bars and champagne bars and all kinds of stuff to do.
So let's talk about couple trips for a minute, and I'll give you some ideas. So when I first started coming down here, it was just B&Bs. I mean, there were a few hotels, but now we've got an explosion in B&B. We actually have an explosion in hotels. But I'm going to throw a couple of unique things at you, and I want you to respond about unique couple places to stay. Tell me a little bit about Onira.
Oh, wow. Okay. So Onira has 2 locations that I'm aware of, one here in Fredericksburg and one in Wimberley. And these things that you stay in, they're like these capsules. I think they call them spyglasses or something. I don't know. They're amazing. Absolutely
like
beautiful. Sort of. It's a beautiful manicured property in the middle of nowhere in the woods, but they're close to town. So it's the best of both worlds. I think each one has its own view. You have hot tubs. Super, super cool. And I hear that the chocolate that you get in the room is really good too.
Oh, look at you, putting in a plug for Hill Country Chocolate. The other explosion that we've had here in Fredericksburg related to accommodations, which is, by the way, how I ended up here, but I ended up in a much weirder way, is RV parks.
Oh, yeah.
So when I first came here, there were like 2 RV parks, and they were old school, and they're still here, actually. They're still here, and they're fantastic. But we've had an explosion in RV parks.
Beautiful RV parks and tiny home communities. They kind of go hand in hand now, I think. Firefly Resort, absolutely stunning. And it's out by Lukenbach, which is great. I mean, you can have a bunch of beer on the river and dance the night away and stumble back if you want to. And then there's a couple on Highway 16 that are headed like towards Augusta Vin, another big winery that gets overlooked because it's not on the wine trail. Beautiful, beautiful RV park that just went in there. Fantastic.
The Lantern
there's
Oaks,
a lot.
I think, is the name of that RV park, across from the airport.
Yeah, I don't know. You drive by it every day.
I drive by it every day. I will tell you, it is just beautiful. I mean, they absolutely took this amazing group of post oak trees and they built the RV park in amongst the trees. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And it is booked almost every weekend. So clearly people have really enjoyed that. Very close to town. So you can stage your RV there and you can get into town. We do have Uber and Lyft here, which is something that I've never used here in town. So I get asked questions about it a lot, but it was just something not on my radar screen because we didn't have Uber and Lyft when I first moved here, and I've not gotten used to that, but it is still available.
It is available. We also have Arteray too, out on 290. So if they're coming to really hit the wine trail and do that whole scene, there's a beautiful RV park there too.
The other thing that was, we're talking about couples trips, is you mentioned live music. That was also not very common here when I first moved here. I mean, we had, I would say, polka music at market plots. I remember that, when I first moved here. Today, all kinds of music. You mentioned, and that's Velvet Lounge. Very, very well known, great family, very popular downtown on the nights and the weekends for sure. But also music at Crossroads and sometimes at Hondo's. All different choices for live music downtown.
Oh, yeah. There's probably a good 10 or 12 places along Main Street that have live music on a regular basis. There's Cultures and Hidden Hideaway and Crossroads you mentioned, Hondlander, like the list goes on and on and on. And then there's places off of Main that also have live music on a regular basis.
If we're looking a little bit funny about the live music thing, is that when I first moved here, I could literally walk from my house to Washington and Maine, and I could walk to the courthouse and back, which is about probably at 2 miles roundabout road in that kind of link. And I would never see a car parked on Main Street. And then today, I will say that the evenings downtown are as busy as the afternoons downtown.
Absolutely. 100%.
People are milling everywhere. They're going to restaurants. There's all kinds of new restaurants downtown. So let's talk about that. So tell me about, what's the big restaurants that hit the mainstream that you wouldn't want to miss if you came to Fredericksburg or would put on your hit list?
For me personally, Granite House, hands down. Every single time I get a chance to go eat out, that's always my first choice.
Granite House, it's one of the ones that I always tell people you don't have to have reservations. Just go get on the list. So if you show up in Fredericksburg and you find out you don't have a restaurant reservation and it's a Friday night, it's often when you can sort of sneak in without reservations. You can go get on the list, which is actually cool.
Yeah, and the list moves relatively quickly and totally worth the wait if there is one. Whatever the special is going to be fantastic. The cocktails are fantastic. Ambiance is great. It's a win-win-win for me. That being said, I've probably got 20 of those, but that one's always on the top of the list because I just don't get to go out very often.
Well, for me, I have a couple that are on the top of my list. I mean, I love Cabernet Grill. Yeah. Award-winning chef Ross has been there for, I guess he founded the restaurant, but he's been there forever. Menu's amazing. It's always improving. The cocktails are just amazing. You do have to have reservations, though. Almost always on a busy weekend.
But that's not a bad thing because so many places don't take reservations at all. If you know that you have a schedule and you want to adhere to it and you know in advance that you're coming, 100% make a reservation at Cabernet Grill. You're not going to be disappointed.
Another clear winner for me is Vaudeville. I love Vaudeville. Another sleeper little inside local thing here is to go to Vaudeville for lunch, because you can go for dinner, but you can actually go for lunch. And the cool thing there is the menu is just amazing. And I think it's the best Reuben sandwich I've ever had. Was it
Oh,
Vaudeville
yes, hands down.
for
So,
lunch?
2 places for lunch. You can either go to Vaudeville and you're down in this, like, speakeasy style little bistro having, again, the best Reuben sandwich that I've ever put in my mouth, and great service also, or not necessarily lighter, but you can go down on the west end of Main Street to Acre Barbecue, which is renowned barbecue joint that just has, again, the best barbecue I've ever put in my mouth.
I like Acre Barbecue. Of course, Lance and Boo Acre, we're friends. We know everybody in town, so you get to know everybody. But she's Korean. Lance is not. He's the barbecue pitmaster. But they've really combined forces to create a really unique and kind of fusion environment there. There's kimchi, fried rice, I think, all kinds of sides that are really unique. And you get to visit with the owners that actually cook the food right there
Mm.
serving it to you, which is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, crazy amount of talent in that building.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw some at you that are on my list, and you can push back on me, that are just things I kinda like to go, and I don't know that everybody knows about them. Leroy's.
Ooh, yeah, I like Leroy's. Leroy's is awesome. Not on 290, a little unassuming, but fantastic food.
Okay, so she said on 290, so one of the things you need to be aware of when you come to Fredericksburg is there's not a lot of food choices between Fredericksburg and Johnson City. So if you leave Fredericksburg and go out on the wine trail, there's just not a lot of like restaurants. But there's this hole in the wall that's next to an orchard, Yinsky Orchards, and it's a little unassuming. It's going to look like a dive to some, and in fact, I think it would be a dive technically, right? I mean,
Yes.
technically.
It's a
And it's like
fantastic dive.
Mexican barbecue, and it's a sleeper place to go for lunch, and they have great burgers and all kinds of things. It's a wonderful kind of
Mhm.
sleeper, place to go, at least somewhere I like to go. Okay, we're gonna talk old school, Friedhelm's.
Ooh, love me some Friedhelms, but I've been eating there since I was 19 years old. Can't go wrong with a steak at Friedhelms. By far the most authentic German food you're gonna get in Fredericksburg. People think that Fredericksburg is just full of German restaurants, and that's not necessarily true. There are a few, yes, but this one is by far the most authentic one. It's as close to Germany as you're gonna get, along with fantastic steaks and chops and cocktails and wine.
So I always get a steak. I have to be honest with you when I go, and
Mhm.
sometimes I've even gotten the chicken fried steak there. But you order some weird schnitzel, like a Holstein or
Oh,
something.
yeah,
What is
whole
the Holstein schnitzel?
there's a couple of schnitzels there that I really, really like. Their schnitzels are pork, and the Holstein is a Jaeger schnitzel that has fried eggs on top. Love it. He has a pepper schnitzel that's amazing, and by peppers, it's bell peppers and onions with a paprika sauce. There's a cheese schnitzel. There's like 8 different ones, and they're all
Yeah, I agree. I think they're fantastic. And she mentioned that we do have German food here. It's not all we have, and it's not even widely available for the most part. I mean, you have to hunt and peck around German food. Okay, let's talk. Since we're on the food scene, let's talk Mexican food. Lots of changes in Mexico. We have lots of Mexican restaurants, but the newest one to come to town is Los Tios,
yeah,
a Houston
yeah.
family that's opened. I think their first restaurant outside Houston they opened here in Fredericksburg,
Mm.
and I have to tell you, I'm pretty impressed. I was blown away by both the cocktails, the drinks, the food, and the service has just been amazing. I will say this, they do have an
Mhm.
online get on the list, which is great.
Huge perk for Fredericksburg.
Yes, if there's a pet peeve for locals, the pet peeve is that I get asked a question like, "Well, do you got to eat a lot?" Many times, no, because I can't get in anything. I'm just like I'm in the same sort of boat with everybody else, right, as far as getting on a
Mhm.
reservation. And we find little holes in the fabric like Granite House, which we mentioned before, or Los Tios, where you can get on the list and you eat. The locals really take advantage of that because that's actually something that's kind of cool to do. So I like that. Okay, closing out the food scene, what about breakfast? I think we're gonna agree on the same thing, but what do you think about breakfast?
Breakfast, there is several good choices. If I was gonna get to just get up and go have breakfast somewhere, I would do Sunset Grill. It is part of the Granite House family, but it's fantastic. Great variation of things offered for breakfast. They're always good, they're always fresh. They have great coffee also. If I had kids with me and I was in Fredericksburg, a little overlooked destination is the airport diner. So, out at our small little airport, we have a diner that faces the runway. And if you have kids, you can sit in the booths and you can watch the planes come in and out. Sounds weird to say that in Fredericksburg, but we do have a pretty active airport going on. It's not massive jets, but they're decent sized. Some of them are even the old school antique ones. They've got them sitting out there. Kids love to sit and look at that and have pancakes or whatever. I mean, it is a little bit, I don't want to say it's overlooked because I feel like that's not necessarily true, but maybe it's just a little underestimated.
I would say it's overlooked. I not because I forgot about it and I drive by it every day because it's out at the airport and you think
Mhm.
airport restaurant and your first assumption might be it's just like a place where pilots hang out. It's really not. It's almost always visitors. There's a huge
Mhm.
hotel at our airport here. It's called the Hangar Hotel. And so as somebody used to fly, I can tell you that the airport here is actually spectacular. I mean, for a general aviation airport, it's busy. I mean, it's jets every weekend. People fly in just to go to the diner for lunch. They fly in to stay at the hotel. They get a car to come into town. I mean, it is extremely, extremely active airport. And in fact, now I think we have service to Dallas Fort Worth to the airport, right? You
Yeah.
can actually fly from Dallas Fort Worth to the airport. So it's a good catch. I really forgot all about the airport diner. Okay, so this is controversial. I'm going to put you on the spot. This is a really hard question. I'm going to throw it
Be
out there.
careful.
It's a tough question. You're going to get mad at me later, but no, you're not going to be mad at me. So, where's the best coffee in town? I knew she was going to do that. So, in
Man.
reference, Melanie ran a coffee shop in town until about 3 months ago, Twisted Sister Bake Shop. And by the way, I thought it was the best coffee in town. It was such great coffee that I built an app where I could order coffee from my phone when I left my house because I was such in love with the coffee at Twisted Sister. And it's been a loss because, at least for me, it may shock you. Melanie will laugh when I say this, but I tend to be very habit prone. So I start to do something and I do the same thing over and over again. So it was a really shock for me to not have Twisted Sister coffee, and she may get teary-eyed talking about it. But where do we go for coffee? Where do you recommend today? Where do you go for coffee?
That's still the golden question. I don't know that my coffee was necessarily just so much better than anybody else's, but I could make my coffee. So there's a difference when you're trying to ask for what you want and you don't get to make it yourself. There's different spots around town. There's plenty of them, which was kind of one of the reasons why I felt safe shutting it down and moving on. It's not like I was taking away something that couldn't be found anywhere else.
When you
Personally,
say that, let's talk about that for a minute. Like, how many coffee shops do we have in town? Probably.
oh, at least 14 that have espresso machines and make coffee on a regular basis. If I'm gonna have just a drink, like a full-on something with steamed milk and espresso, I guess I would lean towards Coffee House. They're kind of, around the corner, a couple buildings off of Main Street there by Market Plots. Great place, great owner, great atmosphere. A lot of my regulars ended up there, which is fantastic. So it's another draw for me to go and keep in touch with all my regulars that were there with me every day for 10 years. And if I'm going to have just straight espresso because it's delicious, little coffee trailer called Sure Shot, which is amazing. And again, amazing owners. And I mean, God, we sound like we're in Mayberry. Like we know literally every single person here, their kids, where do they go to school? But yeah, so people for me is a huge thing. I mean, we're still in a small town, so I don't know. I might install that espresso machine on my kitchen counter though, because I miss it.
If you do that, I'm going to build the app so that I can order coffee at your house.
If I do that, you're not the only one going to
Yeah.
be lined up outside my house.
So one of the things that's changed in Fredericksburg, and I want to see if you agree with me on this, is the fact that we talked about shopping. We've talked a little bit about wine. We're going to address that in another live stream in the future where we talk about wineries. But the other thing that's new here is what I would call programmed experiences that people are coming to Fredericksburg and they have predefined time. This week, I had a very prominent local business owner who came out to the shop and he sat down and he said some things to me which were just really interesting. And he said, when people come to Fredericksburg, they have already predefined their itinerary. Maybe not exactly. Maybe they don't have the exact restaurant, whatever, but they've booked out, I'm going to shop for 4 hours. I'm going to go to wineries on Saturday. And then at night, I'm going to go to dinner. So they blocked out big times. And that one of the things that people are starting to block out of time for is that they want to do something experiential. So they want to do an experience. And we've seen that at Hill Country Chocolate because a significant part of our business is actually doing chocolate experiences, chocolate and wine experiences. But there are other opportunities to do that in Fredericksburg too. You want to talk a little bit about
Fisher and Weezer has been around for a long time with their experiences, also doing cooking classes. And they do ones for kids in the summertime, which is a cool thing to do. If you're here and you're going to be here, like Monday through Thursday, the kids cooking classes, which my kids have taken, loved it, and it's usually a 3 or 4-day class, just a couple hours out of each day. Really, really great, beautiful property, phenomenal place.
And here's a couple of sleepers that if you didn't really know, you might not dig into. One of them is Acre Barbecue that we mentioned. Lance teaches barbecue classes. So now they're not regular. They're like every month he's got a different schedule. One of them might be a brisket class, a sausage class, sides class, if that's kind of interesting. We also have a glass blowing
Mm.
program here. You maybe know a little bit more about that than I do. I think you visited.
I don't know a whole lot about it. We had every intention of getting out there, but as a local, we tend to just work and work a lot, and it doesn't help that, when you're running your own business, you never get free time, but they're on the list and we pass by them regularly, and we wanna go out there and do that too, but yeah, I think that's cool that we have glass blowing here in Fredericksburg. That's not a common experience that you can do, and they actually allow you to, like, get up there and
Blow your
next to
glass.
the hot blown glass stuff and not catch yourself on fire.
So I think that the take-home message from that is that you've got a lot of different activities to block out for your time.
Mm.
Got restaurants galore. Just remember to make your reservations in advance. There's lots of wineries. The one winery, we're going to talk about this in the future, but the one winery advice I would say is pick 2 or 3 wineries and go deep. One of my
Yeah.
biggest mistakes I see when people come here is that they just try to hit like 20 wineries in a day. And that may have been true a decade ago because the wineries were smaller, they didn't have a lot of depth, but that's not true today. And in fact, many of the wineries, you're going to get there and you're going to realize, I want to spend an hour and a half here, or I want to be here a couple hours. And just to hit the high points, I'll give you some examples. She mentioned Augusta Vin. Well, Augusta Vin it's beautiful. It is either the largest single vineyard in Gillespie County or it's number 2. It's really close how big
Mhm.
their vineyard is. It looks like you're driving into a Napa estate, and the wine and the people are just amazing. Signor, you probably want to talk a little bit about Signor, but it's just beautiful.
Man, you can't say enough about Signor. I mean, for multiple reasons. One, the wine's great, the atmosphere's great, the people take it over the top. I mean, it's just even better. They have a full vineyard out on 290. Beautiful, beautiful place, beautiful shopping experience at their market. Great food out there. Every single detail out there is just top notch. Probably, I think, in my opinion, the most Instagrammable property that we have. It's just stunningly gorgeous out there. And then they have a tasting room downtown as well. So if you're not feeling like heading out on the trail, you can stick to it at Main Street, which don't downplay that at all. That property is absolutely stunning also, and the same fantastic people there.
And I think the other one that comes to mind out on 290 is Wildseed Farms, because
Mhm.
if you had penciled in, I'm going to spend 30 minutes at Wildseed Farms, you're going to be sorely disappointed because you can't even walk around the property in 30 minutes. It's just huge. They have wine, they've got a beer garden, they've got a butterfly garden, they've got outdoor plants, they've got a retail store. And, John and Marilyn Thomas, I mean, he is really the reason we have bluebonnets on Texas highways. I mean, he's just been around forever. He's a living legend. And so you would just get, overwhelmed. And then also they have the vineyard, which is also
And an experience in the vineyard, remember? You
that's
can
right.
cruise through the vineyard
Now they offer a
on
cruise,
a
and
boat.
I would say, Vineyards is a good example. It's either the first or second largest vineyard too. It's a huge vineyard, but because John Thomas is such an expert in turf grass and in horticulture and growing, you can literally walk barefooted down the middle of his vineyard. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So that's a good example. If you pencil in a couple spots like there, I would say William Chris is the same way. Even Slate Theory, which
Mhm.
has the cave. I mean, I think it's this largest cave in the hill country related to wine. You would be big time disappointed if you thought, I'm just going to do a drive by, because you just can't drive by those locations. They're just too intense.
Yeah, and I think you would really be missing the boat if you were gonna plan a trip to Fredericksburg. You just did a quick Google search, and you didn't really go through everything that was generated. If you just keep hitting the same top 2 or 3 or whatever pops up on your phone, you're missing out because there is so much more. So don't be afraid to go deep on your research either on where you wanna go and what you wanna do. And honestly, you probably just need to come back more often because things change frequently. You're gonna see different things at different times of year, and there's no possible way you're gonna hit all the high spots in one trip. You're just not.
And I think we'd be amiss if we didn't finish up at least this discussion with saying that we've talked about wine and wine, but Melanie mentioned the distilleries.
Mhm.
That's a relatively new thing. I mean, not like new. It's been here. Garrison Brothers has been here a long time. But when we say distilleries, these are world class. I mean, I
Mhm.
would tell people you should check out Garrison because number one, the bourbon is amazing. So you're going to be amazed at the bourbon. But the ambiance, get out in the country, taking the tour and, walking around and doing the mash and all that. My only suggestion for me is I need to take a driver when I go. It's a pretty powerful tasting that you can do out of
Yeah, they have
Garrison.
a little secret weapon out there too. They have one of the first female bourbon makers
Really?
in the US out there, and she is award winning, I believe, and really, really good at what she does because the bourbon is delicious.
Well, that's a big kind of inside locals look at everything to do in Fredericksburg. I think that, to summarize everything, it's rarely a bad time to come. I mean, if
Yeah.
it's going to be busier at certain times, it's going to be slower at certain times, kind of pick your flavor, but it's just a spectacular place to visit. I mean, I always remark to people that we throw the best parade in the United States. If you come here on a parade weekend like July 4th, you're gonna be blown away. You're gonna think you're walking back to the 1950s, right? Because the
Yeah.
parades are long, people really get out. I mean, people start parking on Main Street and backing their truck in so they can put a place to sit maybe 2 days before the parade, right? It's such
Mhm.
a big event. And then also, you've just got all of the festivals, and we didn't even talk about Oktoberfest. That's also another live stream we can do just about Oktoberfest, but that is an entire month of nothing but partying and visiting and getting out and just a huge amount of intensity during a very beautiful part of the year in the fall.
Yeah, we didn't touch on peaches either, and peaches are still a huge part of Gillespie County, but don't show up here in August and be disappointed that there's no peaches. It's a agricultural product. It
Right.
is in season at a specific time, which is usually June when we have the peach jamboree in Stonewall, and other than that, you're not gonna see a lot of peach stands that are open.
Well, thanks for
Mhm.
joining us. Thanks for answering these questions. If you have anything, leave it in the chat. We answer every question. And also, if you have any questions to us, put them in the chat too, and we'll address those in future episodes. And thanks for being here for this live stream.